Hello and welcome back to the Nine Sports Podcast. My name is Kathleen and I host the weekly soccer edition of our show. It's a little funky this week because Howard and Jackie snuck in to record a basketball podcast, even though it's Tuesday, but I guess I'll allow it. Jackie has been absolutely killing it on her on-site coverage of the WNBA CBA negotiations. So definitely go and listen to what she has to say. They've been talking about it a lot on Women's Sports Daily as well, which is another show from the Nine Sports. That is your 5-minute morning recap of the latest headlines across the landscape of women's sports. So lots of conversation with Jackie there as she continues to cover this story. And man, the WNBA season is just creeping closer and closer. So I personally hope we are closer to a deadline because I know that that makes my colleagues' jobs easier, but it also ensures another great WNBA season, which I think we all ultimately want, as long as those players are being valued the way they should be. So lots more there coming from Howard and Jackie. Make sure you listen to their episode from today. And I don't know if that means they'll also record later this week, but if they do, I'm sure that one will be incredible as well. They also previewed the NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament, which starts this week. And the Nine Basketball will be all over that over the next couple of weeks. And I will even be helping out on that side. So I am looking forward to that as well. Back to soccer, we have a lot to talk about today, including the first week of the NWSL season, a huge transfer for Cat Macario, and Chelsea winning the Women's League Cup. Our top story of the week, or our number one at the 9, is the start of the NWSL season. Let's try that again. NWSL season. I don't know why my brain wanted to just push that all together, but it was probably thinking it would be fun. The NWSL announced a record high attendance with more than 129,000 fans in the stands this weekend, and that gave them an average of just over 16,000 per match. Boston was the big outlier there, obviously, at Gillette Stadium, where they had a huge capacity. I think they had just over 30. Kansas City was also an announced sellout, but that was their limit of 11.5 at their stadium. So a lot of kind of variation, but everybody's numbers are up, which we love to see. And I hope we're able to continue that throughout the season. Our insider, Annie Peterson, graded each team after their first matchup in her latest column for the Nine Sports. And then Stephanie Kaloy joined in the fun to recap each one for the Nine Soccer. Definitely look up both of those. Let me know if you agree with them, if you have totally different opinions than we did coming out of the first week, but hopefully you at least enjoyed getting a very early look at your team and the new makeup. Lots of new players in the league this year, lots of players making dramatic moves. So I know that here in Kansas City, everyone was very excited to see Croy Bethune take the field with Kansas City. Very different look without Claire Hutton in there, but still have Allie Sentner. She had her first big goal for the club. Croy Bethune scored her first goal for the club. They're also dealing without Tomo Shawinga for now. So those were just some of the early storylines in Kansas City, in addition to their new coach, Chris Armas, who I wrote about a little bit earlier this year. So lots of storylines to watch here, and I'll be all over those this season, but definitely let me know what your biggest questions are going into this year and who you're really hoping has a big breakout season. And then Daisha Smith, our favorite Bostonian, hopped over to Gillette Stadium in Foxborough for the Boston Legacy FC opener, which ended up being quite exciting. The Legacy set a league record for highest attended opener for an expansion club. And not only was New Kids on the block there, but Boston had its first player receive a red card, and veteran defender Bianca St. George. And honestly, if you had given me probably 5 to vote from, that's a pretty good guess. And it feels extremely Boston, especially on St. Patrick's Day weekend. Esther spoiled their chances at a home opener victory, but it just looked like a great environment. So Daisha has a lot more on that in print, but let's hear from Ella Stevens and Annie Carriage after the game.
I think for me, the walkout was like a little surreal playing on that in that stadium with the fans that all showed up, the number of people who came out to support. It was an incredible feeling walking out onto the field.
Yeah, I think that it's just so exciting. This day is finally here. It's been in the works for a very long time, and we've heard a lot about the Boston culture around sports, and today we got to experience that for the first time, so it was just incredible.
And I know we are still waiting for them to get some more better news about White Stadium and make some progress there. But it sounds like, at least for now, this was a good substitute and a good opportunity for the city to really come out and show out for that first game. I'm excited to see what Denver does for their opener as well. That's still a little ways off, but they will be at Empower Field at Mile High. And I enjoy an NFL stadium crossover. I like having that higher attendance, and being able to just really welcome them with that energy, even if not every fan comes back for the next game. I think that it gives a lot of people an opportunity to kind of join in on that excitement the first weekend and then kind of settle into a routine after that, which I think is really important as we're trying to grow women's sports, or continuing to go into new metros. Denver actually has really, really shown out for the PWHL as well, and I'm hearing that they are higher up on that list for another potential expansion there. But again, I think it's so special for these athletes as well, because I'm sure that they're nervous and they're really wondering what they're going to walk into exactly. And so I think having as many people cheering for them as possible on that first day, as many people walking around the city wearing gear, all of that is good for women's sports. As for the rest of the NWSL, Portland kicked off the season with a 1-0 win on Friday. And then Kansas City beat Utah 2-1. Bay beat Denver 2-1. North Carolina beat Louisville 2-1, which was the trendy score on Saturday. And then Houston beat San Diego 1-0 Saturday night. Then on Sunday, Seattle beat Orlando 2-1, which a little bit of a surprise there with Barbara Banda back, but obviously she has a little bit of time to get readjusted. And then Angel City topped Chicago 4-0 for a just dominating first win. Ashley Sanchez of the North Carolina Courage was recognized as the NWSL Player of the Week. She scored 2 goals and earned her first career brace. Let's hear what her coach, Mac Lynn, said about the team's victory and her performance.
First of all, I am proud of the team, and the part I'm proud of is the bravery they show, the courage they have to play. I know we conceded a goal in the end of the first half. The way they continue played, like try to build up with goalkeeper and break lines, we were dangerous in that. They played high press against us. We could find the free player and getting facing forward behind the midfield and try to punish them. So that part was nice. I'm very happy for Ash. She scores 2 goals and also worked very hard in the game together with her teammates. So proud. Now we are starting the league. First 3 points, 2 goals. More to wish when it comes to goals, and that will come with time for sure. But very happy.
And we've talked about Sophia Wilson's return a couple of times on this show, but seeing her on the NWSL pitch just made it even better. So excited for her journey back and to see a lot of players returning right now. Barbara Banda, as I mentioned earlier, she made a statement for Orlando with 3 shots. She did score a goal, played 81 minutes coming off that season-ending injury last year. Two-time MVP Temo Shawinga still out. Again, as I mentioned, has not made her return to the pitch yet, but Kansas City's new coach, Chris Armas, said she's close. She has returned to practice, and I think they're hopeful. I don't know that we'll see her immediately Kansas City is headed on a brutal swing of 3 matches in 7 days on the road. Their first stop is Chicago. Then they head to the West Coast to face Seattle and Portland. So I would not be terribly surprised if they continue to hold her out for that road trip. But then they return home April 4th for that next home match. And so I think at some point in this window, we will hopefully see her return. I know that a lot of Kansas City fans are definitely excited to see what she's able to bring after missing some significant time last year, and what she can add to this offense. I mean, with her and Croy Bethune, Allie Sentner really stepping into her prime, I think this has the potential to be another really, really dangerous attack for Kansas City. And I know that Chris Armas has talked a lot about wanting to score a lot of goals this season. And so it would definitely help to have the 2-time Golden Boot, 2-time Player of the Year in there. San Diego made a huge move this week, signing Catarina Macario for roughly $8 million on a contract that runs through 2030. Macario will join the club from Chelsea, where her contract was set to expire this summer. She has not played since about December for them, battling an injury, but obviously just such an incredibly explosive player, and we've seen a lot of her for the national team. So she is just a really incredible pickup for the Wave. And I am very interested to see what she will be able to do in that offense. This is the second time we have seen a team use the NWSL's new high impact player rule. Her and then Trinity Rodman signing back with the Washington Spirit. And it'll be really interesting to see how much it changes the dynamics of the league this year. We've talked, again, a lot about players deciding to stay in the NWSL, to leave the NWSL, to come to the NWSL. But I think that being able to not only sign for a number that high, but for that length of contract is something that it sounds like a lot of the players are really looking for, especially younger in their careers, to really get some stability there, and be able to settle in and really, really focus on their game rather than some of these shorter term contracts that they have maybe settled for the last couple of years. And although Kat has played most of her professional career overseas, she and her family did actually live in San Diego during her childhood. She became a U.S. citizen in 2020. And then again has played for the U.S. women's national team. She scored 8 goals in 10 games for the team last year. And she joins a really fascinating offense there in San Diego, where she is going to be on a really international group of forwards and midfielders. She's got Gabby Portillo, Dodinia, Ludmila, and is just going to be so interesting to watch how she transfers her skills from Chelsea into the NWSL, given the fact that Chelsea, I feel like in Super League in general, they move differently than the NWSL, but obviously we've seen a lot of players transfer back and forth, and most of them have had no trouble at all. But excited to see Macario in the NWSL and see what she's able to contribute here. And I said she hasn't played since December, but Chelsea has been quite busy without her. They did just wrap up the Women's League Cup final. They won Sunday's match 2-0 against Manchester United. And they are just on an absolute tear this season, only dropping points in 2 of their last 12 league games. Macario hasn't played since December, but Chelsea has just been on an absolute tear, only dropping 2 points in their last 12 league games. They just won the Women's League Cup final, defeating Manchester United 2-0. And in my favorite weird stat of the week, Lucy Bronze won her 24th club trophy, which is just an insane stat. What an incredible career for her. You still have a lot of familiar Americans over there. Naomi Girma, of course, playing with Alyssa Thompson as well, who transferred over there last year. So a big year for them. Their next big competition is for the NWSL trophy. And those quarterfinals start next week, March 24th. Chelsea will face Arsenal. Wolfsburg will face Lyon. Real Madrid meets Barcelona, and Manchester United will play Bayern for a set of matches in those quarterfinal legs. And then the semifinals will follow at the end of April. I try to ask this every time, but please let us know what soccer you are watching. There are so many options around the world, so many different leagues to keep track of, but especially as we prepare for a World Cup cycle. We have the Olympics coming in a couple of years. We definitely want to know who you're watching, who you're following. At least to start, we've kind of prioritized the NWSL and the U.S. Women's National Team, but would love to get some other creators on here and diving deeper into some of those other leagues. I would also like to talk more about WAFCON as we get closer to the rescheduled dates for that. So please let me know either in the comments on YouTube or on social media. We would love to hear from you and be able to kind of cater this to your interests as well as we move forward together here on the podcast and at the9soccer.com. That is it for me today, but thank you so much for joining. As I said, we've got lots of other podcast content coming for you this week. If you're a basketball fan, we have an incredible amount of coverage of college women's basketball coming. We've hopefully got a lot of WNBA coverage coming as well as they get ready to kick off their season. And then NWSL, I mean, we are right at the very beginning, so we will have news, features, longer form stories, trends from across the league, all sorts of stuff coming your way this year. Make sure to listen to the 9 Sports podcast a couple times a week. And then that Women's Sports Daily as well, that again is on a different feed. So you will need to go to your favorite platform and search for that on its own, Women's Sports Daily. But it is well worth the listen for that 5-minute kind of recap of the headlines of the day. I hope you all have a great week, and I hope your team has a great start to the season.